Hey everyone, welcome to a special bonus episode of Electoral Dysfunction, the show where comedians and experts debate the news of the week from the safety of their quarantine. I'm your host, Tom Brennan. This week on the show, we had a really extended conversation about what it meant that Congress was going on vacation while there's still so much work left to be done, while the post office is left unfunded, while the stimulus has not been passed, while COVID-19 is rising and the election is at risk. And it ended up being a real long, passionate one. So we're going to present it in its entirety here because it was some of the most meaningful things I've heard said in all of my time doing this show, either this version or the stage show. So what you're about to hear is Allison Kilkenny, Keisha Zoller, Andrew Heaton, and Robert George talking about everything we just talked about in the current state of our country. Ned Thorne, star white me to the bonus episode. Don't worry though, good news for all of us anxious about things, as Robert alluded to, with the world on the brink and with the post office undermined, with rising COVID-19, with all sorts of good, terrible stuff happening. Don't worry, Congress is on summer vacation again.
They did it. They did it, everybody. They went on vacation.
It's not about COVID relief. It's about summer relief. Am I right?
Yeah, it's time. Right. They've earned it. All right. They work so hard. All right. You know what it's like to go on TV and talk and say whatever occurs to you for hours on end?
So the weekly payments to the unemployed, those expired, 2-3 weeks ago. The eviction moratorium, that expired a few weeks ago. The PPP for small businesses, that's going to expire, shortly.
I wanted my second stimulus check.
That's gone. That's gone too. So the House and Senate can't agree on anything. So the House has gone off, and they're sending their strongly worded letters about how upset they are about the post office. Thank goodness for email that those letters will actually get there.
Good job, Gmail, a private institution.
Mitch McConnell, of course, has sent his people home because they can't quite get their marching orders from the White House on what a COVID relief deal is. It's not like there's anything else going on. So why not? Why don't both houses just do whatever they have to do at home and F everybody else? I mean, what the heck is going on here?
How?
This is just.
Keisha, did you and I both just have to stop from going on a research and development rant with text?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I thought so. Go ahead.
Because I want to contextualize this. I want to zoom out for a second, right? You have all of this, and I can't help but think there's a whole generation of kids that aren't going to school. And as all of this destabilization happens, I can't say it enough. The dark ages are possible. We can get to the dark ages. This is not abstract. Kids are losing years of learning right now. They're not in school. They're not, because everything's being so bungled. And the reason why, maybe we can talk about privatization after we get past early November, but we literally cannot do it.
That'd be fair. For the record, I wouldn't do this when people are relying on mail-in voting. I think we should wait till after that.
We're at a place where it's I don't know how to say it. I'm at a stop the bleeding kind of way. We are bleeding out. I look at not everything you just said as you're talking about PPE, and I'm just thinking, I talk to so many of my friends who have children who are struggling to figure out education for the next year.
Yeah. And what I don't think people understand either is we haven't started the nosedive yet. We're still in this weird sort of suspended plateau, but 40 million people might get evicted soon. What is that even going to look like? That's going to be absolutely batshit.
Yeah,
so how do you even do it?
And that's what I mean about Wi-Fi. How many of those are kids? How many of those are children who won't have access to education? What are their options? I'm thinking, okay, there's this now. But whatever is happening in 5 years, I don't know how Like, I keep thinking about how all of these systems that have been undermined, and on top of a changing American demographic, I don't know how or what could be. So
And you know
let
what's
me have
wild?
my post
Like,
office.
we're not even talking about mental health, because like we are currently living through the defining moment of our history, right? Like before that it was like 9/11, but now it's like, whether you're talking about medical workers, you're talking about these kids who are being isolated, who can't, like, socialize with other kids. What is that going to do to them mentally? Like, there are so many other factors beyond what we're talking about that we haven't even considered yet.
We have a school shooting issue that's on pause.
Yeah.
And now we're sending, eventually when kids go back to school, what the hell kind of resources are we providing just for that? Like, things are, like, I feel like we're slowly bleeding out, and we're like, here's a Band-Aid. It's SpongeBob. Be chill.
But I think that's a really good point, and I think I just want to to tie it back to this fall election. I think the reason, like, what frustrates me about the schools issue is that, like, literally the minute that the largest cities in America had to shut down for more than a week, like, the assumption should have been made, okay, this could be really long and we need a plan now. And, a lot of people on a lot of levels have had failed to mix records on this. No one party has the monopoly on it. But why I think, why I think people like Mr. Heaton, who is not normally a voter for Democrats, is, is supporting the Democratic ticket this fall. Is like, what we're getting out of the White House, we're not even getting bad decisions. We're getting no decisions. We're getting a person who's just like, it's going to go away. I'm just wishing it away.
Yeah,
I just want to finish it. It's undeniably a complicated problem. Like, I get that opening schools and how you handle schools is difficult because on the one hand, like, you have teachers and staff you don't want to have spread. On the other hand, you have parents who need something for their kids to be doing in the day. They need that childcare.
And you have you have kids who rely on the schools for food. Yeah.
Who need education too. Yeah. And it's just not healthy for kids to not be around other kids for this long. It is a complicated problem. I don't know what the answer is. It seems like currently, the White House is like, poof. And, whatever, Joe Biden.
And by the way, I
always want to finish my point. Joe Biden was not my candidate in the primary, but he is definitely someone who understands that there are complicated problems that you have to address and figure out. Someone doing that would be nice.
The corrupt. Let me just quickly throw this in here. The corrupting influence of Donald Trump, which is incredibly widespread, but particularly in the context of the Republican Party and what they would normally do if there is a conflict with the House, it was clearly evident this week. Mitch McConnell has been around long enough to know that one of the classic stunts that the Senate, and it doesn't matter whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats who are running it, if there is an issue with if there's a battle going over legislation, one of the classic stunts that the Senate will often do, particularly when it gets close to a recess time, they will take the bill that the House has already passed, strip it of everything that they don't like, leave everything that's in there, pass that, send it back to the House, and say, okay, it's on you to deal with this. So the Republican position is, well, there's $1 trillion in there that's supposed to go in state aid for New York and these other blue states, and we can't pass that, and that's outrageous. And so all they have, if they could take the House HEROES Act, they could leave the direct payments, leave in there the direct payments to people. They would leave in there the $600 a week. They would leave in there the money to go to states. They would leave in there the money to go to PPE. Now, there'd be a lot of stuff that they would take out that many blue states and Democratic people say we absolutely knew it. And so, but the pure essentials that have to be there, that are helping people who are unemployed, the people who are facing eviction, parents who are trying to get their kids to school, the real absolute de minimis, the Senate Republicans could pass that and say to Nancy Pelosi, you agree to that, and then we'll come back and negotiate over the other stuff. But they don't want to do that because the idiot in the White House is telling him he doesn't want to do that because he's got issues about post office and this extraneous stuff. So they are not even fulfilling their basic responsibilities as a legitimate governing party. They're just not doing. They're just walking away and not doing a damn thing, and they're just leaving the rest of the country to burn.
To jump on that, I think immediately, and Keisha makes a very good point that we're bleeding out. There's lots of people that are hurting right now, that are suffering right now. We need to be very concerned about that. When we project this outward and we look at this long term, one of the things that bothers me about this intransigence and willful dereliction of duty of Congress is, despite the fact that I tend to be a limited government guy, you might think that I would enjoy gridlock. But when you get gridlock long enough, when you get Congress not acting long enough, people lose their faith in government institutions. And then what appeals to them is militant nationalism and fascism, populism, right? Basically, when Congress can't do its job, that's when populism really gets going well, because then people are like, I don't feel like I'm enfranchised in this. I want a demagogue to wipe out the bad people, and I'm just going to follow him blindly. And it's very dangerous. And so we need to have a competent Congress to forestall that from happening.
I want a savior, and I'll vote for the savior, even if he was the one who caused the anarchy in the first place.
And a lot of the time they have a scapegoat too. That's one of the other pitfalls of populism, is it tends to focus on some particular group that's keeping the average bloke down.
Yeah, Chris Hayes writes about this in Twilight of the Elites, where it's when you have total institutional failure, people look to populism. They look to basically anything that could fill the void.
Wait a minute, that's what's happening right now.
Wait a second.
America. That's the problem.
It's also the fact that we're all tired. This is exhausting.
Yeah.
We can have complex arguments once we can all wake up and not go, what's happening? Do we still have a country? Do I have a home? Does my friend have a home? Do I go
It's also it's exhausting. It's exhausting being in some arguments where people are like, but I don't know, is Trump really that bad? And you're like, I can't leave my home. I'm not allowed to go.
I'm not allowed anymore.
I think you could do quite well having a campaign going, listen, I'm the Benadryl candidate. Vote for me and we can all go back to sleep.
That's what's going to happen.
That would never work in a previous election.
His name's Joe Biden. Sleepy
Joe Biden might be the Benadryl candidate.
To show how far Donald Trump is off his game, he doesn't realize that when he gives that name of Sleepy Joe Biden, people are thinking, that's about right. That's about
as opposed to Night Terror's Trump.
What planet are you living in where being tired is an insult? We're all tired.
I found out. I mean, the Daily News. We found out today that the Daily News, which is a 101 year institution. We found out this week that our newsroom is going to be permanently closed as of the end of October. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's permanently closed now as of a couple of days ago. But we have we've got several weeks to go in and get our stuff and things like that. At some point, the newsroom part of it, we'll find other lodgings and so forth. But it's this realization that my current circumstances of working from home are going to be those circumstances for the foreseeable future. And I mean, our department, we talked about, for the next couple of weekends, trying to get together, to hang out in the park just so we can see each other's, face to face for a little bit. But this is unsustainable. I took a staycation this past week, which literally means I stayed in my apartment just like I did when I was at work. But I went out to happy hour to meet with a friend of mine from DC.
Like with humans?
With humans.
Yeah, we're allowed to do that here in the East Coast.
with a
Because we didn't screw it up like you Californians did.
yeah, with a guy who runs a like a consultant strategist firm, and he was talking about what is being lost by not being able to give guidance and mentorship to his younger workers. The little things that you don't appreciate when you're in the office of, there's a meeting that's going on, and you notice there's this conflict between a couple of workers, and the manager can go to worker one and then worker two and just say, oh, well, do you realize what she meant was this, and you may have heard it like this, or he meant this and you heard it that way. Oh, everything's good. That doesn't happen with your daily Zoom meeting, and it creates tensions and fears among coworkers that don't necessarily come to the fore when you see that person on a day-to-day basis, and you have a chat about the Watchmen episode last night over the water fountain. This is what's being lost by everybody having to work from home. This is what is happening when we don't have leadership to mitigate the disaster that has descended upon us, and will allow us to go back to work.
I would just even to yes and that even further. It's not like that in other countries. Other countries are open. Other countries have plans. Other countries are getting back to whatever this new normal is, and we aren't. And this is the razor's edge.
They have some of those countries, by the way, just to be clear and transparent, some of those you're getting little outbreaks here and there, but because they controlled it on the front end, they've got the testing and tracing now, so they can track down those things, and they can put them on pause and say, okay, you guys, this little town over here, you guys go into a little mini lockdown. Wait a couple of weeks, then you can come back out, because the rest of the country is safe. We can't do that because we've allowed this to rage on, and we have no idea of how to control it.
And I know I keep saying I'm exhausted. I almost cried in the shower yesterday when I saw a Twitter news post that said, looks like immunity only lasts for 3 months. Yes. And I was like,
I know. Yeah. I was relieved because my mom got tested and she had the antibodies. And then I saw that same news story and I was like, great. So she's only protected for 3 months. So we could have this like panic attack all over again.
Well, and yeah, get those visits in with your mom. Like
I did. Yeah. We did. We planned it because as soon as she got the antibodies test, I was like, you got to come over now because like you're protected for at least a little bit.
Well, and I was talking to somebody. It's like, I don't know when I'm gonna see my family again to make me feel bad about being in LA. At least I have sunshine. But like I was lucky. My grandma lives out here, and we were able to have a long social distance hang. And I love my grandma. She was still like, I don't see what the big deal is. And we're like, Grandma, you're 81, and we like you, so we're gonna wear a mask and stay the F away. But like, I don't know when I'm gonna see my family, and that emotional toll. It's the work. It's like I miss my dad. I'm having a birthday. My dad's like, I wanted to surprise you and see you. I haven't seen you in almost a year. And I think like the human toll of like not even being able to be like, okay, yeah, a few people have it over there. We can take things. We're not even sort of near that as a country. And it's like the damage is done, and it's only getting worse.
Yeah.
Real light one from the comedian.
Yeah. Eaton,
I'll
turn
do
this around,
a
and that's where we'll
midpoint.
end.
As a single person during lockdown, I feel like I have lost the biggest game of musical chairs in all of human history. Like it just like lockdown happened and it was like mankind went, by the way, like you're never getting married, just like double down on porn and maybe buy an Oculus Rift. Like that's your life moving forward for the next 3 years. Like,
Oh yeah.
shoot.
Somebody the other day was like, "When do you think you're gonna go on a date again?" I was like, "I
Yeah,
don't know, fucking
2022
never."
maybe.
Like,
I don't know. I better eat a lot of vitamins so I don't keep falling
Yeah.
apart at the current rate I am, so that I can
Yeah.
still
Listen, I hate to
smack
tell you,
somebody.
Alice, I hate to tell you this. Fucking never basically is the answer.
Although I have gone on a couple social distancing dates, and they are very awkward.
Oh, you mean not like the normalcy of regular dating, right? Exactly.
Even
That's
more
completely-
awkward somehow. Yeah, wearing masks, sitting 6 feet apart in a park. It's awful.
Like, if you,
I called that. I used to call that a date. Was I missing something?
No,
What
that's
mask did
good.
you wear?
Yeah, this has swung pretty well in favor of my mask fetish, I have to say. Like that is the singular
Forget.
benefit of all of this.